Hey YouTube, this is Mad Movie Mark, or the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1942 musical Holiday Inn.
Did you get your discharge papers from that sanitarium?
Well, it is true I am getting over a bout of COVID that I've had for the past 2 weeks, but I did not need a sanitarium, luckily. I am back on the mend, and I am reviewing all the movies that have 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give them all a score of 1 to 10. After I review them, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the silent movie era in 1920, and now I am at 1942 with The Holiday Inn. Like all the other movies that we are reviewing, this one has a 100% fresh rating from the critics, and it also has an 86% fresh rating from the audience, which is on the lower end of the scale that we've seen thus far. This movie stars Bing Crosby as Jim Hardy, Fred Astaire as Ted Hanover, Majorie Reynolds as Linda Mason, Virginia Dale as Lila Dixon, Walter Abel as Danny Reed, and Louise Beavers as Mammy. It also was won Best Musical Original Song for White Christmas. So when this movie opens up, we have kind of a love triangle going on with three members of a singing and dancing act. They are Jim Hardy, who sings about how he is able to attract women through his lovely singing voice, and then Ted Hanover, who sings about how he's able to attract women with his dancing, and then you have Lila Dixon kind of in the middle with a tug-of-war game between these two guys. And it's just a show that they're putting on. It's a show about how they are fighting for the love of this one woman with different ways. But then we learn that Jim Hardy is under the impression that he and Lila are going to leave the act. They are going to get married, and they are going to kind of go to a farm and kind of live the easy life and get away from all this acting and this showbiz. But on the other hand, Ted Hanover is secretly also dating Lila, and she has no plans of actually going away with Jim and marrying him. Her plans are to stay in the show and work with Ted Hanover and kind of have a relationship with him. So he kind of was able to steal her away from Jim through his dancing and his charm. We learned about, Jim learns about this in a very awkward way when Danny Reed comes in and he says, "Hey, I got it all planned out for you. You two are going to do this two-man show, and it's going to be great." And Jim's kind of sitting there like, what's going on here? So they said, well, this isn't the way we wanted to tell you, but we are actually going to stay in the show where we love each other. We're going to get married, and you're just going to have to kind of forget about the relationship that you had with her and all those dreams and goals that you had because they didn't really mean anything. She didn't really like you at all. And instead of us talking about this and having a conversation about it, we just decided to unload this on you right now. So he says, "Oh, okay, I guess I lost. I guess I'm gonna go off into the sunset." So he leaves, and his plan is to go to the farm anyway, but he ends up in a sanitarium because of his depression and because of his anger. When he gets out, he decides that he's going to turn the farm into an inn, the Holiday Inn, and it's called that because he's only going to put on shows on holidays, and he's looking for like the next big talent.
Read up, brother.
Holiday Inn, Midville, Connecticut. Get off the highway and relax on a farm. Dancing, entertainment, home cooking. Open holidays only.
So he mails Ted Hanover, and he tells him this plan, and maybe you want to audition for it. I don't know. You guys have a pretty good act going. So apparently he's been able to let bygones be bygones. He's kind of forgot about this whole situation, or he's allowed himself to heal and forgive. And he says, like, you guys are a good act, and maybe if you want to come down and try out for it, that would be great. At the same time, we have a girl named Linda Mason who works at I believe it's like a flower shop. And Danny Reed is at the flower shop, and he's trying to send some flowers to someone. And she recognizes him as the kind of the producer or the manager of the Ted Hanover act, and she tries to get in it. She says, "Hey, like, I'm a singer and dancer. Do you have anything for me?" And he says, "Look, I'm going to do you a solid. I'm going to tell you about this place called the Holiday Inn. You should go there, and you should try out for the act there, because I think that maybe they are more your speed. It's a little smaller of a place. You know, maybe it's some place that'll work for you."
So what? So I'm going to give it to you.
A job?
Uh-huh. A friend of mine is opening a place in Connecticut, Holiday Inn. You take that card out there tomorrow, tell him I sent you, and you'll be all set.
So she ends up going down there. she has a chance meeting with Jim Hardy where they kind of lie about who they are. But then eventually she gets to the Holiday Inn and she's ready to like try out. And when he sees her, he kind of like falls in love with her. And they end up doing a rendition of White Christmas on the piano. And he says, like, here's your audition. If you want to audition, I have this song that I wrote for Christmas. I'm kind of writing a different song for every holiday, and this is one I wrote for Christmas. And he starts singing White Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
And just as an aside, I love White Christmas, the song. I love Bing Crosby's voice. It's absolutely amazing. When I hear his voice, he has that voice. When I hear it, I think Christmas. Like, because I think he sings a couple of Christmas songs that I've heard before, but when I hear him sing White Christmas, it's just, I know that like that is the holiday. That is Christmas, because I love the movie White Christmas, and he sings it in that movie too. But absolutely love it. The scene is a great scene where he's playing on the piano and he's singing the song. So he ends up agreeing that, yes, like, I will put you in the show. And so they're putting on all these shows, and she's in the show, and things are going really well. And then he decides that he's going to kind of tell her his feelings towards her. So he tells her that, like, he likes her, and they end up becoming engaged, like, on the spot. Then we learn through a note that Lila wrote to Ted Hanover that she has left him, and she has married a millionaire. So he is now distraught. He gets drunk, and he ends up going over to the Holiday Inn. And he does, as he's drunk, he does this dancing number with Linda. Like, they just kind of meet each other and they do this really big dancing number, and it's a huge hit. They're both great dancers. It's a song and a dance that goes on for a while, and then he kind of like passes out in his room, and when he wakes up he has no real recollection of this. And Jim Hardy's kind of questioning him. Well, do you remember anything from last night? You can tell at this point that Jim Hardy is concerned that he is going to lose this love as well to Ted Hanover. And so he's like, oh, maybe you should just forget about her. You'll never remember who she is. It was just a chance meeting. But then Danny Reed comes up, his personal assistant or whatever, his manager, and he says, if I just see her from the back, I can recognize her. Like, I saw her really good from the back.
Really come up empty, huh? Too bad about Lila. I think you're better off doing a single. You're a born soloist, you know?
Oh, no, Jim. I've got to have a partner. And when I find her...
Yeah, I know. You'll fall in love with her. You haven't missed yet.
So as they're putting on more shows, he's trying to look at the back of women to see who this person is that they danced with. Now, we get to I think it's February 12th. They are doing the Abraham Lincoln. They're doing the Abraham Lincoln show, and I didn't research this movie at all before I watched it. I don't normally like to do that. I'll look up trivia and stuff afterwards, but I want a fresh look at a movie. Like, I don't want to know what's going on. So my assumption is that this is the pivotal moment where Jim Hardy is trying to hide or trying to make it so that Ted and Linda don't fall in love. So my assumption was that he would do just what like any normal person would do. He would sit her down, he would explain the situation. Hey, look, I was in love at one time, I was engaged to someone else, but Ted was able to win her over with his dancing. I'm a little concerned about that now. Like, I'm worried that he's going to eventually take you over because he now has an interest in you. He wants you to dance with him in a show. And this is a real concern for me. So can we just like talk this out? Maybe I can, like, you can put my mind at ease. You can tell me that you love me and that you'll never leave me. And, you know, let's just talk it out. That's what I thought was going to happen because that's what a normal person would do. But instead, he just... God, I can't even believe I'm saying this. Instead, he decides to ask her to put black shoe polish on her face and do blackface.
Well, I thought it over, and I believe if our number would go a little better in blackface.
Oh, I thought we were going to do it like this.
Well, that's before I thought it over.
So that it hides her face. And she says, oh, well, I guess if this is what you want, but I was really hoping to look beautiful tonight. So does that mean that she doesn't think that people of color are beautiful, or that putting on the black polish will take away her beauty. I don't know, but this whole scene is infuriating. So they go on stage, and not only is she in blackface, but he's in blackface too. Why? He's not hiding from anyone. Why is he in blackface? If the whole reason for him putting her in blackface is to hide her face, why does he have to do it? And then his entire band is in blackface. The dancers are in blackface. Everyone is in blackface. Like, why? There's no reason for anyone else to do this. Like, the song he sings, he's supposed to be like, impersonating a black person, and he uses like Sambo type language, and it's just it's not only infuriating, it's just hard to watch. And I realize that these are different times. It's 1940, but come on. I mean, come on. You have to know that this is, even if you don't know this is going to age badly, you have to know this isn't something that you should be doing. Like, first of all, it makes no sense. If you logically think it through, it makes no sense. There is no reason for him to have blackface. There's no reason, and even if he's playing a black person, that's why he has blackface. Sure, why does the rest of his band have it? Why do the dancers have it? There's no reason for anyone to think that, like, all these people have to have it. It's just so, I'm so upset. Anyway, so after this blackface scene, I'm assuming, okay, so later on, they can cut this out, right? They don't have to show this anymore. They can do a version of this movie without blackface. I don't know why they haven't, or at least the version I watched, I don't know why it was there. But, okay, so let's just cut that part out of the movie. Let's just never speak of this again, right? And let's just try to move on without, bringing it up again.
Say, fellas, how'd you like the show?
Well, we were so busy, we didn't see much of it, Jim. Why?
Thought the people seemed to like the blackface routine.
Oh, Jesus, God, he brought it up again. He said, how did you guys like the blackface scene? I think that everyone enjoyed it. Oh, my God. Jesus. I think that everyone enjoyed it. Yeah, except for Mammy, probably. Even though she actually has a song during this time where she's singing while they're doing blackface. I'm like, this is the biggest slap in the face ever. Like, oh, my God. And then he brings it up again. And then he says, maybe I should keep doing it. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't keep doing it. You should just talk with her, explain what's going on, be a real person. This is what a real person would do. But anyway, he doesn't do that. He decides that he's still going to try to hide her. Eventually, they find out who she is, and then Ted starts talking about how they're going to be partners and how they're going to put on this big show, and how he has like a dream in his mind of how they're going to be together. And he starts going on about this, and instead of sticking up for himself, or instead of like, maybe we should talk, like, let's have this is another moment in the movie where he could say, hey, look, let's have a real discussion about this, because I'm in love and I'm tired of losing my love and all this. He just lets it go on. He just he acts like a dog with his tail between his legs, like he's hurt and he's not going to say anything, and woe is me, and oh, I lost another girl, like, oh, this is my plight, this is my life, this is what happens, I'm doomed to always lose my love to this guy. But no, he just talk to the girl.
But you could change the show for a special occasion like this.
Of course he could. He's just trying to hide his gratitude.
Jim, you better think up a number for us.
Well, just what do you visualize, Ziggy?
Let's...
The whole movie, I'm thinking, why don't you just have a real discussion with her? So he ends up lying, and there is a point where Danny Reed has it set up to where two people from Hollywood are going to come watch Linda and Ted dance, and they're going to decide if they want to take them to Hollywood.
Why didn't you say something?
You look so silly.
Where's Jim?
Inside.
Good. I fixed it. Here's the news in one luscious word. Hollywood.
Now, I told you I'm not leaving here until Linda goes with me.
But this is the setup you needed to get her away from Jim.
So, another good chance to talk to her. No, but instead he sabotages it to where he has his driver pick her up and say, just pick her up and never let her like arrive at the show. She ends up finding out that he did this, and she gets very upset, and she says, why don't you give me a chance to tell him no? Like, I know that we're together. You know that we're together. You could have just like told me about this. We could have talked about it, but you didn't. So what does she do? She ends up going away with Ted to Hollywood. So Ted, once again, steals the woman, goes to Hollywood. And then on Thanksgiving, this is the next show, Jim decides he's going to shut down the Holiday Inn. He's not going to put on a show. He's just going to wallow in his own self-pity for a while. Then Mammy is serving him his dinner, his Thanksgiving dinner, and she says, "Hey, why are you sulking? Like, why don't you be a man, go down to Hollywood, talk to her, tell her you love her, tell her you made a mistake." Like, that's what women want. They want you to fight for her. She wants you to pour out your feelings to her.
Fish with the misery, 'cause the slicker stole your gal, and you ain't got fight enough to get her back. What kind of keeping is that? Nothing but tricks. If you went to Hollywood and told Miss Linda how much you loves her and misses her, and told her that the way a lady likes to hear it told, I'll bet you she'd be the quickest ex-movie star that ever exed.
And at this point in the movie, I'm like, yes, finally, someone has a clue. Someone is finally in this movie. This is the first person in this whole movie that actually is thinking reasonably, that has a thought, that has a good thought, that knows what she's talking about, and she was just totally made fun of with a blackface scene. Yet she's the only one who knows what she's talking about. And I'm like, this is now my favorite person in the whole movie, because I actually have the same feelings that you have. He should have just done this from the start. So he ends up going to Hollywood, and they've recreated the Holiday Inn, and they're planning on doing like a Christmas version of it. And he meets Ted, and Ted is worried because Ted's going to propose to Linda, and now he thinks that this is all going to go bad. Jim is able to lock Ted and Danny into a closet, and then he is able to find Linda, patch things up, and then everything's hunky-dory. At the end of the movie, he is now with Linda, and they are once again singing together about how Jim gets women with the song, and Ted gets women with the dancing, and now Jim has eventually won the prize at the end of the movie, which was Linda, and has completely destroyed my sanity in the meantime. So that is Holiday Inn. Now, this is my second Fred Astaire movie. I did not enjoy Top Hat because I thought the plot was convoluted, and there was a mixed identity thing, which I thought went on for way too long. And this is only the second Fred Astaire movie I've ever seen, and I liked this even less than I did Top Hat. This plot is just so maddening. And I've gone over this a lot. I've already talked about this ad nauseum, but there's so many chances in this movie where you just have a conversation with someone. You just talk to someone. You talk to someone, with a good demeanor, and you just tell them what you're feeling. You get it off your chest, and you say, "Are you feeling the same way? Is there anything that I can do to make sure that this relationship stays as strong as it is? What do you need from me? Here's what I need from you." All of that would have just patched everything up. It would have been fine. But instead, Ted continues to be this egotistical jerk who thinks that all he has to do is dance, and he gets women, and then the women end up doing exactly what he wants. So it's like, what? And then Jim is kind of like just the guy who is the doormat. He just gets stepped on, even though he's supposed to be, I'm assuming he's supposed to be the guy that I'm rooting for in this movie, but I can't root for him at all because he's just, he makes very poor decisions basically about everything. And, someone who is like Jim in this movie is someone who is always going to be treated this way his whole life if he keeps everything bottled up inside of him and he's not able to show his emotions. He's not able to get stuff off his chest. He's not able to have that conversation. He's just going to continuously get stepped on, and it's just going to be a constant circle that he's never going to get out of. He's going to end up growing old and bitter. He's going to hate the world, and he's going to think that the world is against him, when in fact it's not against him. He just doesn't know how to act like a regular person. So I was so happy that Mammy came in and gave some logic to him and kind of slapped him a little bit. She didn't actually slap him, but she kind of like, verbally slapped him and said, just come to your senses. And that part was great. I will also say that the dance scene by Fred Astaire is pretty great in this movie. There's the 4th of July scene where he's dancing with firecrackers. I don't know. It was good for like a couple seconds, but then as this scene goes on and on and on, it's just the same thing over and over again. And I wasn't about that 4th of July dance, but a lot of the other stuff he does is really good. And like I said, Bing Crosby has an amazing voice. His voice is butter. His voice is Christmas. And it's amazing. The acting performances are really good. Not always do you have a singer who can also do a really good job at acting. Another example would have been Frank Sinatra. What was that movie that he did? The Manchurian Candidate. That's another example of a singer who can do a really good job at acting, but there's not a whole lot of examples of this. But Bing Crosby is a very good actor. I honestly don't think Fred Astaire is that great an actor. You guys can go ahead and leave bad comments about that if you want, but I have yet to see a movie with Fred Astaire that I think is written well, that I think has great dialogue. They put all their time and energy into the dance, into the song, and none of the rest of it in dialogue or in acting or anything. And you can tell me, yeah, sure, it's a musical. I've heard that argument before. It's a musical. You have to just take it for what it is. But you have Singing in the Rain, which has everything. Like, it's the perfect musical, and that's what I compare everything to. It's maybe not a fair bar to compare everything to, but when you see something like Singing in the Rain, and that's my expectation for musicals. And Fred Astaire doesn't deliver ever, and he hasn't yet. Like I said, I've only seen 2 of his movies, but as far as I know, Top Hat's supposed to be one of his best movies, and wasn't a huge fan. So I give this movie I'm going to give it a 6.5. That is probably higher than I was going to give it. I think I gave Top Hat a 7 or 7.5, but I can't give this anything higher. And I think that because of the singing, because of the dancing, it deserves something. Because White Christmas is a fantastic song. This was the birth of White Christmas. This gave us the White Christmas movie. So it deserves more than like a very low score. But it can't get more than a 6.5. And a lot of it is because of the decisions they made with blackface and because of the decisions they made with just having an open dialogue with characters, which they decided not to do. So thank you for joining me. I think my next movie that I will be reviewing is Shadow of a Doubt. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.